In one age, called the Third Age by some,
An age yet to come.
an age long past,
A wind rose on the Geek at Arms podcast.
the wind was not the beginning,
There are neither beginnings,
nor endings to the turning of the Wheel of Time.
but it was a beginning.
Welcome to Woolheads, a Wheel of Time podcast by Geek at Arms. I'm Brian, and here's a man that I think surely must be Taverin. It's James.
The light illume you, Brian.
And you as well, James. Everybody sing along. Spoilers are coming. If you haven't read the books, and definitely if you aren't caught up on the show, you will regret listening. We are doing something a little different today, I guess. We'll be reviewing the Nintendo 64 game, Goldeneye 007. Okay, seriously though, Goldeneyes episode 7 of season 3 is entirely Perrin-centric. We were missing him for a whole episode earlier, and now we got nothing but Perrin.
Which I'm completely fine with, to be honest.
So am I. And it kind of reflects the books a little bit, because I seem to recall there was actually, I think it's the next book, The Fires of Heaven, where Perrin's just not in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the second longest book in the whole series.
Yeah, I was not happy about that.
But anyway, this is a great episode. It's almost all battle. And maybe I've just got a little too much personal emotional damage these days, but I had tears on my eyes through the whole danged episode.
There were a lot of... They ramped up the emotional quotient for this episode a lot. They could have just had it be stirring music, although honestly, I don't really remember any of the music in this episode.
I don't either.
None of it stood out to me, which is disappointing. But
I don't know if that was a failure in the music or a...
if we were so focused on the action on the characters,
yeah,
we just didn't think about anything else, which is very possible. I'll have to give it yet another watch, because I was at the edge of my seat for so much of this. I thought this is going to be a good battle, but the way that they kept amping up my anxiety level about what is happening. Oh my goodness, what is happening? What are they going to do now? Now they're back in the city. What is... Yeah, a lot of things were added to this episode, which I do not believe were in the book. We'll get more into whether those were good things or bad things. But I wanted to comment on the transformation of Edmund's Field.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what they did.
Yeah, it was very authentic.
It was. I'm like, okay, they've built a spiked wall around the town, 2 gates, perfectly fine with that. They built towers, several places for archers to shoot. They've added several barriers throughout the fields, things to break up attacking lines. And Alana mentioned that she had destroyed any bridge or pass. And of course, we all know Trollocs won't cross deep water. I mean, they just won't. They won't cross any water at all unless a Midral is driving them. But deep water, no, forget about it.
There was an odd lack of Myrddraal in this episode.
Yeah, and they address that later. And like I said, we're going to get to that in a minute. So they funneled the enemy forces into one path, one pass.
And the defenses were designed to benefit archers.
Yes, which... I'll go ahead and mention this. This was in my Copland talk. But the scene where we see so many of the Two Rivers folk practicing with spears, I'm like, I hate this. You see it several times in movies or shows where the town is going to be attacked. So we're teaching the townspeople how to fight. So we're going to give them sticks or crummy spears, and we're going to teach them some maneuvers of, we'll lift the back end of the spear up. We'll pretend to hit something with it. We'll stab forward, and it's horrible.
It's in the standard script for this episode.
Yes.
Like I said, Magnificent Seven.
Yes. So, but then we get Senbui, of all people. He's like, why are we using a spear? These are horrible. He's like, you need to stand the line. You give me a good Two Rivers bow, I'll stand the line all day long. And he's like, okay, go get your bow. And I'm like,
too bad the props department brought all those little kids' bows.
I saw what they were actually using,
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, James, let it go. You got a whole episode to watch. Just,
Probably wise.
yeah. So, but I was
Save
getting
your
upset that they
indignation
were
for
like,
Fayul's knives.
yeah. My first point for Copland was, why are the two rivers men using bloody spears? I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay. Well,
So we had to have a scene to set Maxine back a notch.
yeah. Well, then we like, yeah. They set me up. They did like, well done, well done, writers. Good job, good job. Um, but back to the practicality of how the town looked and how the people
Mhm.
looked. Um, I like when you see proper arming garments on people.
Yeah.
They just don't throw on chainmail or suddenly they're in their normal. You see underneath their armor, they've got normal clothing on. I'm like, no, they don't. That's not
That
that
would really hurt.
that's not how it works. Perrin, throughout a good portion of this episode, is wearing a legitimate, useful gambeson. It's
Mm-hmm.
the style is Eastern European, but you see the arming points. You see how it wears on him. You can see where the armor can be attached, and it's nice and bulky, but still freedom of movement. I'm like, I realize he's the hero character, so whatever they put on him has got to look good. But this gambeson was very well done. I was very
Yeah.
pleased that he was wearing it, especially with the type of armor that he had on.
Props to the costume department. Fewer to the props department. But yeah,
Yep, I'm going to go with that.
costuming
Completely.
was great.
Costuming was great. Some of the props, not so much.
We talked about the music a little bit. This does have a musical number in it. Calling back to season one's Long Ago. That is great storytelling.
The Song of Manetheren that they all started to sing. And they
I remember us.
Go ahead.
I remember us talking about how much we liked that scene at the time, how unique it was, and how well they used it as an excuse for Moraine's exposition dump.
Mm-hmm.
And now the old blood truly sings, as Loyal would put it.
And they chose the perfect moment to have Perrin begin to sing it, and the whole town joins in. Oh, very well. Like you said, a moment to bring a tear to the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
I wish it had gone on a little longer, actually.
I know we got one verse. I'm like, no. Give us the chorus at least, my man.
Give it some room to land.
There was a lot I liked in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
A lot I really liked. Some things I just did not. Like you said, some things they hit very well. Some things they did okay, but just didn't land correctly. And did you have anything else on production?
I did have one more.
Go ahead.
We've had a tradition of calling out an actor every episode so far.
Yeah.
This time I want to give it up for Maria Doyle Kennedy as Isla. She's good. She's so good. that character, she plays it almost entirely in reaction shots.
Yeah.
And her expressions are understated, but they still manage to convey exactly who she is and what she believes.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody around her is like melodramatic. And she's just got this compassion, her unwillingness to compromise her own morals. She's really playing that part.
She really, for as little screen time as she gets,
Mm-hmm.
she nails it every time.
Yeah, I loved her in season one just as much.
Yeah. Oh, she could. That scene with her and Aram, the very last one between the two, just the look on her face. I'm like, okay, just go ahead and rip my heart out, producers. Just here it is.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think having set that same scene up previously during Road to the Spear just made it hit harder. It was very, very well done.
Turn your face away from me. I had a son with a face like yours.
Yeah.
I watched that again recently with my wife, and it still broke my heart. All right. Well,
let's complain about stuff.
Speaking of breaking my heart, I already talked about why are two rivers men using bloody spears. I love that we get a Perrin-centric episode. He deserves it. But there's something different about him in this episode. And I think it has to do with Marcus Rutherford and the direction he's been given. I always pay careful attention to how the characters talk. It seems that he's gotten a lot more breathy with how he talks to people. Like he's trying to be more serious, and he's got the
Yeah.
weight of responsibility upon him. I'm like, oh, this sounds no.
He's always doing the loud stage whisper. Yeah.
Yes, he is, and it does not become him. And I hate when they give that direction. He's got a good voice. He has a
He
strong
does.
voice. Let him use it. Don't give him that breathy tone like it's going to add gravitas to what he says. No, he is going to add gravitas to it. Just being who he is, this strong, powerful presence, his height, his eyes.
Hmm.
Let those help with it. Don't mess with the man's voice. Let it do it.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
he had at least a couple of points where his voice was really powerful, and I noted specifically his argument with Fail when he's trying to drive her away,
Mm-hmm.
and he gets mad, and I was like, and I noted that because that's a big part of their relationship that she. Uh, I don't think this is ever going to come into the show, but in the books, she always had to fight against this belief that he didn't respect her because he didn't think that she could take his anger. And so we're kind of like compressing all of that into this very short amount of
Yeah.
time that, he yells at her and she can take it. And you could see from her countenance, just the way she reacted to that, yeah, yeah, bring it. This is what this relationship is going to be like.
I'm Saldean.
Yeah. And
You think Two Rivers women are mad? You haven't met our ladies.
have you noticed that she has gotten all of the greatest lines?
Yeah, you're right.
I particularly liked, of course not. I'm not a big baby.
Harkening back to that scene where he's trying to scare her off, and she brings up his dead wife.
Yeah, that was rough.
He's like, no, I won't. It's my decision, not yours. I'm like, be as pissed as you want, my man. She's got a point.
Mm,
We've still got other things to complain about.
yeah, I definitely have more things to complain about.
So I just got done talking about the great gambesson that Perrin was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that they chose to put on the gambesson was it's
a
like
little
that
World of Warcrafty, yeah.
well, it's like that song, We're Halfway There, Living on a Prayer. Because it's like they got him halfway armored and then thought that was good enough.
Yeah, it's good they protected his joints.
Not even all the joints. See, this is an issue I have with so many medievally fantasy shows, is that when a hero character needs to armor up because they're about to go on a dangerous mission or face an army of monsters, they throw a couple of shoulder pauldrons on him, and
Yeah, well,
that's it.
you can't cover up the biceps, man.
Well, even Lord of the Rings was not exempt from this, because
Mm-hmm.
in the last parts of the Battle of Helm's Deep, you see Legolas sporting a pair of leather shoulder pads. And I'm like, no, it's not how this works.
That's so Gimli can stand on his shoulders.
Battle dwarf.
Platforms.
Love it. No, we need more of a launching apparatus for Gimli for tossing the dwarf.
A little catapult on Legolas's back.
That's right, because it's proven that if you throw a dwarf and it's like an area effect spell. It's just everything goes flying once they hit the ground. But anyway, you get some cool steel pauldrons and almost a gorget and half of a breastplate on Perrin, and then the lower half is just leather with some metal rings sewn onto it.
Well, he was gonna do full plate, but he only had 2 days to do the forging, so
that must be it. It's I can imagine that'd have been hilarious. He's like, the Trollocs are coming, Perrin. I'm not ready.
He's got Will Alcine as an apprentice, so he's in trouble.
It's a very the fact that he has to tell these guys on several occasions, stone first, then the strop. I mean, honestly, I blame Alcine's parents. That's basic Two River stuff.
And they say, yeah, we know. And he's like, I'm looking at you right now doing it wrong.
seriously,
why I spoke up.
his dad, it would have been perfect if his dad came over. It just said, "You're still doing it wrong, boy." Speaking of parents, here's a big gripe of mine for this episode. Where
Yes.
in the
Where
light were
are
Tam,
Tam
Al,
and
Thor, and
Abel?
Abel Coffin?
Yeah. I really thought that they'd wind up being like leading that relief column from Devon's Ride at the end.
Same. Or like there'd be a
It was a
moment where
perfect
like
opportunity.
the heroes are hard pressed, and then all of a sudden arrows just start flying in from outside the walls, and in
Mm-hmm.
comes Abel shooting his bow, and Tam with a sword just tearing through everyone because he's a blade master.
That is what should have happened.
Yes, it is.
100%.
Instead, what rides through the gates? White cloaks.
Mm-hmm.
Evil white cloaks.
Evil white cloaks.
Led by Padden Fane, of all people.
Well, first drunk Bornhold, and then Padden Fane.
Okay, side note, I actually do enjoy the fact that we just, in the last few episodes, we've seen his drinking just increasing.
Mm-hmm.
And as we see more of him, we see him drink more, his disheveled look increases as well. He's just looking more and more not like the perfect child of the light. And that I did like. But there's a lot I didn't like. I'm sorry. I don't believe Padden Fane was needed for any of this episode.
Yeah. Any of this season, really. He was kind of a. I mean, okay, sure, you've got him as the excuse to bring the Trollocs in and to have the impetus to get them out, but yeah, the whole story is suffering because they removed Moradin, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They made that decision early on. Oh, we're just going to simplify it, and they didn't think through the ramifications of Padden Fane's motivation through the whole rest of the series.
It's almost like they brought him in because he's got the big smile, and it's like, oh, hey, remember Padden Fane? Wasn't he a fun villain? Let's trot him out. And also, speaking of not working, but the scene at the end where Perrin spares him, telling him, the only way you got us alive is if you take the Trollocs with you. I know you control them. That should not have worked.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it did work made me angry because he's a dark friend. You cannot trust dark friends. Period. End of story. You can trust them to do whatever they have to do, say whatever they have to say to keep them alive, to keep themselves alive for the next 10 seconds. But beyond that,
as soon as he's outside the palisade, he's sending those Trollocs back in.
Exactly. It would have been a much better scene, if the Midral finally showed itself, attacked with the Trollocs, and you see a Midral with his midnight sword against Perrin with hammer.
Oh, that would have been cool.
And Perrin just brings the hammer down on it, and when he does, the Trollocs fall dead.
Yeah. Now I'm mad that we don't have that scene. Dang it.
The entire time, I'm really glad that none of my kids were home, because when Perrin had him on his back and the axe there, I'm yelling, "Kill him!"
Speaking of worthless and superfluous villains, why is Lord Luke even in this season to start with? He's done nothing.
He's had a total of two appearances in 2 episodes.
He's had, what, a line?
Yeah.
What are they doing with this guy? I have to assume they're setting him up for something for season 4, I guess.
See, but most of his story begin and end with what happened
in this battle?
Yeah, with the Battle of Edmund's Field. So I'm like,
they didn't do any of the stuff with Perrin's interaction with the dream world, and I don't think that they're going to.
And why were there no wolves in this episode?
They answered that in the previous one.
Did they? Did I miss that?
Yeah, when Perrin was going through the White Cloak camp to rescue the coffins.
Yeah,
there were a bunch of wolf heads on spikes because Valda had been sending his men out to kill wolves because he's upset about what happened the first time you met Perrin.
What an absolute pill. What a tool.
Yeah.
I missed that.
He got what was coming to him.
I will admit, I missed that completely.
Yeah, it was really short, and they didn't draw any attention to it, and I thought that was a shame.
Eamon Valda's just been one of those characters forever. Like, he needs to die. In fact, I went onto the Wheel of Time Wikipedia, specifically searching. So, okay, how does Eamon Valda finally die? I remember enough of it from the books that I was satisfied when it happened. So I have to know. I won't talk about the book spoilers any, but we'll get to his death in a little bit. I've only got a couple things left. But
if one of them is not loyal, I'm disappointed in you.
My next point is, if they've killed Loyal, I'm going to have a really hard time watching any more of this series.
I think they did. There's so many characters in this story, and we know there's more that are just going to keep coming in. So they've got to trapdoor people. And he doesn't have such a big impact on the story that they'll miss him that much. But he deserves better, way better.
He deserved way better. You know, we saw a lot of him this season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, no. They could have had him off doing other things. Only showed him a couple of times during the season, a couple of episodes at the most. I'm going to stand on this hill. There's no need to kill him.
I agree with you. Although, I'll hold this out there. If he has just faked his death, it's probably because he heard his mother was coming.
You raise an excellent point. So, my final point is Perrin going with the White Cloaks. No.
I'll have something to say about that in the theory crafting.
Okay.
Because I think I know why that change.
Okay. Obviously, friends, it's something that did not happen in the books, but
it specifically the scene was in the books, but it ended in an opposite
differently.
fashion.
Yes, yeah, it did not happen like that. So I know that they enjoy a cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't? And next episode is the season finale, and they need to focus on what's happening with Rand and Moraine, and also what everyone is doing running through the hills of Tanchico. So, you know what? If this was what was needed, so that in the next episode we get more Tom Marilyn, then
that's okay. A good trade.
That's Perrin, you can sweat in a White Cloak tent for a while. Sorry, but you can, as long as I get more Tom. But I'm ready to move on to some changes in the pattern that were excellent.
Me too.
Lord Goldeneyes. I'm glad they kept that. That made me happy. I knew that they would. That probably that title would be appearing, considering the episode name. But to hear people call him that, and parents like, stop it, stop calling me that. That I enjoyed.
Yeah, I missed the Red Eagle banner, but I'm glad they got the wolf head.
Me too. I think we'll see the Red Eagle banner before too long.
Maybe. That's part of that same theory crafting I've got. I thought one of the biggest surprises that I was pleased with was Daisy Conger being a powerful wilder.
Yeah. Didn't see that coming.
Neither did I, but it makes sense because, I mean, Alana brought like a dozen new novices out of the
two rivers.
I
forgot about that. Yeah, you're right.
So there had to have been dozens of powerful self-taught adults. And Daisy did take over after Nynaeve left, so it's reasonable to assume that she could channel.
And it doesn't stretch the imagination that these are women that Moraine missed. Because at that point, these women saw Moraine, knew what she was, and were able to hide themselves
scarce.
Yeah, made themselves scarce, hide themselves effectively. When you're in a siege situation, there's no hiding. Everyone is shoulder to shoulder, and you're going to bump into each other. And honestly, these women were also thinking, we're about survival right now.
Yeah.
And don't you want to learn how to weave like I do? Does it mean I have to quit drinking? That was great.
Well, I suppose if all you want to do is link, it should be okay.
Should be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure she's had to deal with a lot of alcohol coming through the bonds of her warders, so she's probably very used to that.
Well, something tells me that Alana's no stranger to the bottle herself.
Yeah, she's not a lightweight, I'm sure.
No. Speaking of Alana, a lot of great scenes this episode with her.
Mm-hmm.
I was so happy to see some banter, some playful moments between her and Maxim again.
Yeah. Everybody's favorite crappy warder getting his mojo back was definitely a high point for me.
Yes, it was. Even when he was shown up by Senbui and the others. Two Rivers longbows indeed. There we go.
Yeah, it's what we love about him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't resent that they showed him dealing with his trauma. I think, people get hurt.
Yeah.
People have to heal. It's not why we bought our ticket. This joyful fatalism. We're all going to die. It's so much better. It's so much more Maxime.
It's more appropriate for the man we know and love.
Yeah. And I didn't notice. I noticed halfway. At what point did Alana take off her ashes on her cheeks?
I honestly don't know. I'm trying to remember if she started the episode with them or not.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know at the point where she and Maxime finally have their moment, she's washed her face off.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I even looked at her cheeks specifically because he was rubbing his thumbs over them in a loving gesture,
mm-hmm.
and I realized, wait, her ash paint is gone.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I wonder if we just both totally missed it, and she was actually washing her face at the beginning of that episode, or the beginning of that scene.
Well, between Moraine and the sweat tents, we've become desensitized to any type of bathing in this series at all. So she could have stuck her head in a water barrel and we would have missed it.
Right. I also liked Alana's. There was her linking and the big spell, because it was a nice contrast with what we saw at the end of season 1 with Amalisa.
Yeah.
Where Amalisa, drawing so much of the power, burned out all of the other people, all the other women she was with. And in this one, it was really subtle, but we saw just a little bit of burns on Alana's cheeks. But Alwyn, Bode, and Daisy weren't touched at all.
Yeah. I was wondering what she was doing with the power, which the effect, once again, very cool. And they've done a great job of when they're doing something specific with the one power, it's not just a bunch of colorful, waves and lines and threads leading into something. Now they're actually being formed. You see them taking on a specific pattern for whatever job they're being used for. And as she was pushing them into the clouds, there was almost like a firework effect going off at the very end of the weaves, which I thought was very well done. And it made me wonder, what's she doing? Like, is she about to call down a little tornado? Like, or is she calling down lightning? Oh, ice knives. Oh, that's much more terrifying.
Well, we all know Ice Storm is a terrifying spell in D&D.
Yes, it is. Joy almost killed us all with it in Baldur's Gate 3. I enjoyed that for the first time, we started to get some subtitles for the maiden hand signals.
Yeah, and my favorite was why are you always touching things?
When they were at the Waygate, and one said, even their shadow runners are soft. I laughed out loud. I belly laughed for a second. That was so good.
And then the Dark Friends come back and say, what happened here? It must be an Aes Sedai. And there's just two Aiel grin at each other, put their veils back on, and go to town.
Yeah. Just like, well, round 2.
Yeah, they had a lot of good moments in this episode.
Yep. So I had a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like your Eamon Valda? Original recipe or extra crispy?
Extra crispy, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss the Pedron Niall storyline, but it's totally unnecessary. So it's just as well that they're going to skip it.
Yep. Yep. In the book, I
And
will give this spoiler for the books, friends. If I recall correctly, like with the whole Perrin Niall situation, Eamon Valda is such a polarizing figure, even to his own men, that later in the books, before the last battle takes place, Eamon Valda is killed by his own men because even these white coats realize this man is leading us into ruin
mm-hmm.
and is going to get us all killed, and he's fighting for the wrong cause.
What's kind of funny, though, is he gets murdered for entirely the wrong reason. It's because somebody manipulated the person who killed him.
Yeah.
But this is something interesting that I don't know that, as far as I know, nobody else has noticed the correlation. Did you ever see that movie? And now the name of it escapes me. It was about the Irish Republic, the beginning of the IRA. Michael something. Michael Collins.
It's been a while, but yes.
Eamon Valda and Eamon de Valera are the same person. Pedro Niall as Michael Collins.
Okay. I see.
The White Cloak story is the story of the Irish Republican Army.
I see where you're going with this. I do.
I know that Jordan wove a lot of those kinds of things, just little nods to history and little Easter eggs into his work.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know what it was that caused me to notice that particular parallel. But as far as I've read anywhere else on the internet, nobody else seems to have made that connection. So I'm very proud of myself for
Nicely done. But the scene where he gets deep fried and rotisseried, something really bothered me in it. Not the scene, not the part of him, screaming in pain. That was delightful. Like I rewound and watched that like 5 times in a row. I've noticed this a couple of other times, but when the Cawthon girls began to channel, the scene implied that he could see it. And I'm like, since when can men see weaves of Sidar? This is I meant this from my Copland talk, but
yeah,
now they're not saying that they can. No one has said they can. In fact,
but he's reacting to it.
All the girls do is stand beside each other, and his reaction says it all. It was you, because you see the weaves of power begin to form between them. He should have no clue what they're doing.
Maybe he could channel, and he felt the goosebumps. No,
sorry, that's hard. No.
What I'm wondering is, there are some weaves that are going to create a physical manifestation, like they burned him with fire, and so maybe he was seeing bits of fire coming up around them as they were about to attack him.
Then they should have animated that.
They should have, and they should have given us a better indication of what he was seeing rather than the standard weaving that you would get from, okay, yeah, we can see that they're channeling.
Because they're playing fast and loose with the channeling effects and the reactions to it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have had as much of a problem with it in this episode if they hadn't, in the very same episode, pointed out that only some people can see the weaves.
Yes.
It's like, okay, we're going to remind you of that and then violate the rule.
I would have found it great if Eamon had no idea what was happening. Comes in, obviously he's come to kill Alana.
And just bursts into flame randomly.
He'd be like, now your time has come, which I'm going to... Why is my clothes smoldering? Is someone cooking something?
It was the most ideal death for him, though.
Yeah. And I was happy that it was Natty's daughters who did it. All while Alana is cackling on the ground with a big old arrow through her, still laughing at this white cloth being burned. I like you. You're dark. Let's hang out. Something else I really enjoyed. We had so many great scenes between Perrin and Fael. In fact, pretty much all of their scenes together have had fantastic chemistry between the two.
They're great together.
Which is exactly what needed to happen. Because in the books, friends, these two are just they're made for each other.
They're the Wheel of Time's power couple.
They really are, and it's why it made me so angry why for so long they were kept apart for so many books. So stupid. Anyway, after the battle is done, victory is assured. Fael reaches up, grabs his beard, and pulls him down for a kiss. I'm like, that's a scene straight out of the books. If a scene like that was never written, then that's in the spirit of it.
I totally forgot about her relationship with the beard.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. A little bit more on Perrin's characterization. I really liked the way his body language just like really opened up once the battle started.
Yeah.
Because, you know, he's doing the Perrin thing as described in the books. His shoulders are indrawn, his eyes are down. He's acting very meek because he doesn't want to look threatening. But as soon as he grabs that hammer, he's got the axe, his chest opens up, he starts taking up space.
Yeah, he becomes a wrecking ball. He takes the field demanding that everything and everyone pay attention to him and deal with him.
It's like, I leveled up, I took the 2-weapon fighting feat, let's go.
You know, honestly, I'd have been fine too if he had just dropped the axe and started swinging the hammer two-handed.
Yeah, I think they've compressed his arc a lot. Like, at this point in the books, he's still in his berserker phase.
Fair.
And not doing the dual wield yet.
I do want to point out that after he mows through the Trollocs, and I appreciate that he wasn't like one-shotting them. A lot of times he'd be knocking them down, and then Fael would follow up with the coup de grace.
Yeah.
But after he goes through the two guarding Padden Fane, he throws the hammer at Fane, and it hits him and knocks him down. No, I'm sorry, no. Padden Fane is dead now.
Yeah.
Okay?
He's not getting up from that one.
The size of that hammer at least had to be a 15 to 20-pound sledge. And the way that Perrin just...
And there was no arc in that
There was
throw.
no arc. That was straight. Padden Fane's spine is crushed. He's dead. He's like, call off the truck. Oh, bugger. Oh.
I've made a terrible mistake.
Oh, blood and ashes. Yeah. So I'm attributing it to the fact that he is a lifelong blacksmith. And also he was in his, as you said, berserker rage mode. And he's also a wolf friend. And also his adrenaline was through the roof. Why
and
he was
got great
one
hair.
hand wielding a giant sledge.
Well,
it's a fantasy. You know, it's a fantasy series. I see
if you've
women
got hair like that,
yeah,
you've got to be an anime character.
Yeah, exactly. I just watched an episode where a lady literally calls down ice knives from the sky. So
right.
One hand wielding a giant sledgehammer. I'm going to go
That's
with
not
it.
quibble.
It's not quibble. Okay. I'm going to hold off my suspension of disbelief.
I'm about done. How about you?
Let us cast to the future for what we think is happening next. I
have theories.
I am surprised that, but fine with that, we got the Battle of Edmund's Field an episode early. But really, so much is going on. Episodes 7 and 8 are kind of like a 2-part season finale. And I'm really glad they didn't split it up. So we saw some battle, and then we go to Tenchiko.
That would have been awkward.
Come back to Edmund's Field, and then we're back in Aiel Waste. No, they let Perrin's story, that entire situation, go from beginning to end exactly as it needed to.
Yep.
Although I do have some major gripes with Amazon. They throw commercials in at the worst moments.
Don't they?
We're watching this heartbreaking scene. I mean, like, I'm about ready to grab the Kleenex. It cuts away. Play-Doh! I'm not even joking. It was so jarring.
Yeah, they really do cut in the worst places. It's like they didn't build in commercial breaks.
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, it's not broadcast anymore. It's this thing. It's like, but we're still going to put commercials in it, and so we don't have a place for them to go, so we're just going to stick them in wherever.
Honestly, it's diabolical. They know what they're doing because they're trying to get that extra $5 a month out of us for no
Now,
commercials.
you're right. That's exactly what they're doing, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, it is. So
Now I hate them even more.
that's not going to change. That's not going to be any different in the future. But what does the future have in store?
Well, as I was thinking back about the way the novels went, I was thinking, okay, well, what's coming up after the Shadow Rising? It's the Fires of Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Perrin is not in the Fires of Heaven at all.
So you think next season we're not going to get even a single glimpse of him?
No, I think what they're going to do is they're going to do the same thing they did for the Great Hunt, and they're going to mix up how the stories are going. And this whole thing about Perrin going off with the White Cloaks is going to be his story for season 4. Because otherwise they're like, okay, we've got this entire huge book with no Perrin in it, and we cannot do that in a TV show.
No.
So they've manufactured a new plot for him to keep him alive in the sense of to keep him on the screen.
Okay.
So that's my theory for why they changed the scene with the White Cloaks at the end. And I also think we're gonna get some awesome Fail stuff next season because she's gonna be coming after him. These are my predictions.
I'll allow it. You convinced me with the awesome Fail scenes.
Mm-hmm. Imagine, you remember how awesome it was when Perrin was chasing her after the Shido kidnapped her?
Yes.
Maybe we're not going to get that. Maybe they're going to flip it.
He chased her for, let's face it, 6 books.
Yeah.
Friends, I was buying new books in this series, and my main hope wasn't that, Rand would find another way to deal with the male half of the source, or, what would happen between Aviendha and Elaine and Min, or even between Lan and Nynaeve. No. It was, is Perrin finally going to get Fail back from the Shido?
That went on way too long.
I
To the point there was a book that led all the way up to the climax and then just stopped.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So maybe they're doing it a little bit in reverse. Maybe I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be a trial.
Mm-hmm. I think there was a trial for Perrin in the books.
I think there was as well. And I think that's what
it was
they're
like
going
really
to
close
do.
to the end.
Yeah. I think that they're going to put him on trial, and either he's going to be found not guilty, or
Fail kills everybody.
Fail kills everyone. Either way, James will be fine. You know what would be funny, though, is if you see the Two Rivers people marching up and surrounding the very lessened White Cloak camp, holding 2 banners. The Wolf's Head and the Red Eagle of Benetherin.
And they're all 300 yards away. Good luck covering that distance.
Yep. Two Rivers longbows indeed. That might become one of my new phrases. Well, did we have any others?
I think that wraps it up for me.
Same.
Friends, I will find the song, or another will find the song, but the song will be sung in this year or in another year. As it once was, so shall it be again. World without end. World and time without end.